society is definitely oppressed when it comes to sexuality. We don't even want to have conversations about sexuality. We can't even determine whether or not we want to be inclusive of sexuality, comprehensive sexuality education in our school system. And so I find that because we don't talk about sexuality, we're definitely oppressed. And then just speaking from a black woman's perspective, a heterosexual black woman's perspective, sexuality has been denied for heterosexual black women since we were brought to this country. And given that those negative intergenerational patterns that have been passed down from generation to generation, we just don't even know how to have the conversation because it's so much stigma, it's so taboo. And because of that, our sexuality has been, again, stigmatized, we've been oppressed, it's been denied. And I don't think that there's many spaces where you can find for straight black heterosexual women to have a conversation about sexuality in public. And so I feel because of that, sexuality has been denied and it's oppressed for a particular population of people when it comes to heterosexual black women. And then I also think that just as a whole, we don't talk about sexuality in a very healthy and comprehensive manner. And when we do talk about sexuality in the media, it's over-sexualized. I think as a society, I say that Americans are over-sexualized and undereducated.
Yes.
And I really think that we need to begin to just have the conversation, just talk about it. Just spaces like this, the Sex Down South Conference has created a platform for people to talk about sex and different kinds of sex and different kinds of identities. And it made it okay to do that. But without these type of spaces, and I thank Marla for even including me in this conversation, without these types of spaces, you can't have the conversation. But I think even though we have this space, I think we need to do more. Those of us as sex educators, counselors, therapists, and whoever's involved in these efforts, we need to have these conversations on a grand scale, because what disappoints me is that oftentimes in spaces like this, it's people that are already in the field.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of preaching to the choir, but we need to be taking this message outside of these walls and into the community and speaking in a louder voice, saying, hey, here, we need to have conversations about sexuality, because I think all of us are in agreement that sexuality is who we are. So how can we deny a very fundamental part of us? I mean, our sexuality is a basic urge. It's formed, our sexual urges and desires are formed when that brainstem is formed, just like the need for food. So if we're denying an essential part of ourselves, we're oppressing ourselves. And that's why you have the trauma. That's why you have all the issues that you have when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to life in general. And so yes, we are oppressed. Yes, we need to begin having these conversations, not to each other who are in this room, who are, in this field of human sexuality, but to the greater society of, as a whole.
Absolutely.
That was well said.
Very well said. Yes.
I do have, and thank you for that, because it's really important. I just have a little segue to that in the sense that we all come from different places in order to get this kind of support for each other.
Yeah.
When we go back home, we're almost in the same places that we were before. There's no support.
Yeah.
There's no places that we can go to. Is there any effort for people in your field, for events like this, to do an extension where it's just not once a year, to where maybe we can have some group facilitations in our own towns?
Sounds like you've got some work. I hear like ambassadors all over the country that
Well, so I wish I had ambassadors, but I think there are spaces there. Like in San Francisco, there's like Good Vibes, right? That run sexuality workshops. Here in Atlanta, I ran them like all last year, and I mean it's a matter of promotion and getting the word out and having and being able to draw people in who want to be educated around sexuality and then also just being available, like speaking, like when I go and speak at universities and things like that, I'm speaking to the younger generations about sex and sexuality, and then also conducting workshops with adults who have had a history of repressed sexuality. But I think there are spaces, but there's not very many, right? It's literally like I'm by myself here in Atlanta running these workshops. There's Good Vibes who can pull people in from everywhere, and in San Francisco, and then there's in New York they have some. It's like that's it. What about the middle of the country? What about in every city? Like every city should have someone definitely doing this kind of work, but it's few and far between.
and it's tough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
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 No.
Can I share one more too?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So the conference that I run up, that I co-chair up in Canada, it's financially difficult for people to attend it, right? There's hotel, and it's a break-even event. I'm sure you know how this goes. Like if we're lucky if we break even, right? So nobody's going home or going on vacation with a whole bunch of cash. So we wanted to do something that did have more of the ongoing thing. So I just started doing a happy hour every month, and I just advertised it around.
Nice.
And I came up with a list of question cards to just start conversation, and people can pull them out, answer them or not. And then my job is to kind of keep everybody comfortable, hold a safe space, involve people in it. It's just once a month at a restaurant. Now, I did live in Georgia for 4 years. I lived in Athens while I was doing my PhD, and so I know that I'm quite fortunate where I'm at, that I can have a restaurant that'll host me, and that's not the same where everybody lives. But just having a thing, and what was really important to me was that it got named and designed and branded by somebody who wasn't affiliated with academia at all. And which one of my friends who does community organizing is like, what would you call this thing? What would you do? I wanted to call it a discussion salon. He's like, no, call it a happy hour. You know, and I was like, oh, how not I reach out? A great idea. So that has been one of the efforts that we've done, and the restaurant doesn't care whether people order or not. So that's really nice too. So as long as I put an appetizer on every table and I'm willing to cough up that money, that's fine. Then they don't care who comes to the table.
I love that.
So it's been like 6 months. It's going pretty good.
I love that.
I like
And
that you
thanks
called
for-
it a happy hour though, because it's not intimidating. There's so many things around exploring sexuality that just at the front end of initiating, you know, just a registration or saying that you're going to go, that's intimidating, and a lot of people have a shame response of, oh, I can't spend my time doing that, or whatever it is. So,
I can't click go on the Facebook invite because
right,
other
because then
people
everybody is
see
going to
that
see that I'm going to this,
Yeah.
and I'm not ready for them to know.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
exactly to me is an example of oppression.
Yeah.
You cannot
Yeah.
be like, I'm going to an event that says the word
Right.
sex in it, or
Yes.
like I do tantric masturbation or tantra for women classes. Oh, I can't say that I can't share it on my wall because what will people think? I will get fired from my job.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I will get fired from my job
Right.
if people know I'm coming to your class. That's an example of oppression.
Absolutely,
Can I just
absolutely.
really quickly what I'm doing? I started a social media campaign, and it's national, so feel free to jump on board, but it's hashtag how dare I not, hashtag I save lives. And the purpose behind this movement is just what you said. How dare I not talk about sex because it can save your life, in whatever way I'm talking about sex. So we simply just have to begin to have the conversation, whether we're in San Francisco, whether we're in Georgia, whether we're in Canada, whether we're in Seattle or Chicago, wherever we are. We just have to begin to talk, have the conversation, like I mentioned, outside of these rooms. Even if it's something that's having a happy hour, having a workshop, logging onto this website. And what I'm asking people to do is log onto the website. It's www.howdareI.not.com. Download the logo. There's a story behind the logo. Take a picture with the logo showing that you're supporting talking about sexuality in a very healthy way, in a comprehensive way, which includes everything that we're talking about: oppression, reproductive justice, social justice, because all of these things are included in healthy sexuality. And so that's another way that you can start the conversation in your area. Hey, have you heard of this movement? I went to this conference. I talked about this. Because the bottom line is that we're not talking about sexuality.
And how
We're not
sexuality is
talking.
energy.
Exactly. So we just simply have to begin to have the conversation, and we have to be bold, because our sexuality is bold. So we have to be bold outside of this room, not in this room talking about it. What is that doing to preaching to the choir? So we have to be bold enough to step outside of that little box that we keep putting ourselves in as sexuality supporters, educators, and counselors and therapists. We keep putting ourselves inside of a box. Just like you said, Davey, if we can't even check that we're going to a conference on sexuality, what the hell are we doing to ourselves as sex educators? We won't even say that. So what do you think that people out there who don't know the stuff that we know aren't as comfortable with the stuff that we do? Well, how do you think that they feel? If we put ourselves in a box, we're putting them in a bigger box, or in a smaller box, whatever context you want to put them in. So if we can't even do it, what do we expect from them?
That's absolutely
Outside
right.
of this room. So we have to have a conversation.
Absolutely right.
We have to talk. And it begins with us, y'all. We got to take it outside this room. I'm sorry.
Can
No, it's
I share something on this?
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to this conference, I did not intend to post on Facebook because that's where some of my family members are, but I was going to share on some other outlets. But on the first day, I was like, you know what? I'm sharing on Facebook. And I've been sharing on Facebook all week. And my brother was like, no. And I'm like, you know what? It's about education and empowerment. It's a good thing. And honestly, so I decided to be bold, and I'm glad that I did.
Yes.